Okay. We are on the 18th sutra of the third book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali and the Light of the Soul, commentary by Alice Bailey and the Master DK. And we just moved into the sutras for the remaining of the third book that encompass the results of meditation. And contemplation and concentration and meditation. So here we're moving into the 18th here. Knowledge of previous incarnations becomes available when the power to see thought images is acquired. The significance of this sutra is very great, for it gives the basis for the regaining of a knowledge of past experience. This basis is strictly mental, and only those mentally polarized with the mind under control can regain this knowledge if they so wish. The power to see thought images only comes through mind control, and the mind can only be controlled by the real or spiritual man. Therefore, only egoically centered people can truly acquire this knowledge. And again, we can look over at our chart and see how high that we're talking, how high in the chart we're talking here. This being the lower three worlds again. This being earth life down here. Therefore, it might be asked here, what therefore do those people see who are emotional and not mental, when they claim to know who they are and to relate the past lives of their friends? They are reading the Akashic records, and because their mental control and equipment are not adequate, they cannot discriminate nor ascertain accurately what they see. The Akashic record is like an immense photographic film registering all the desires and earth experiences of our planet. Those who perceive it will see pictured thereon, 1, the life experiences of every human being since time began. 2, the reactions to experience of the entire animal kingdom. 3, the aggregation of thought forms of comic nature based on desire of every human unit throughout time. Herein lies the great deception of the records. Only a trained occultist can distinguish between actual experiences and those astral pictures created by imagination and keen desire. That's pretty intense here. Or the planetary dweller on the threshold with all that appertains to that term and all the aggregations of forms which are to be found in its environment. The trained seer has learned to dissociate that which pertains to his own aura and the aura of the planet, which is in actuality the Akashic record. He can distinguish between those records which are A, planetary, B, hierarchical, or pertaining to the work of the 12 creative hierarchies as they bring to concretion the plan of the Logos. C, imaginative forms, the result of the desire thought activity of the myriads of men animated by desire for some form of experience or other. And D, the historical record pertaining to races, nations, groups, and families, and there are 2 great divisions on the physical plane and on the astral. It should be borne in mind that every human being belongs to a physical family, which constitutes his link with the animal kingdom, and also belongs to an astral family. Through that affiliation on upward are or he is linked through that affiliation on the upward arc. He is linked with egoic group, and on the downward arc with the vegetable kingdom. On the upward arc, okay, that's not supposed to say R there, that's supposed to be a C. So through that affiliation on the upward arc, he is linked with his egoic group, and on the downward arc with the vegetable kingdom. And that would be evolutionary, and then involutionary if we don't know about these arcs. I want to say that HPB, this stems from HPB's work in the Secret Doctrine. Then we have E, the astrological record, or the forms taken on the astral plane under the influence of the planetary forces. These are in two groups. One, those forms or pictures in the Akasha produced by the inflow of solar force via the planets. And two, those forms or pictures which are produced by the inflow of cosmic force from one or other of the signs of the zodiac, that is, from their corresponding constellations. These points are enumerated to show how impossible it is that the majority of the claims regarding past incarnations can be true. They are the result of a vivid imagination and the assumption that the flashes of astral sight, which reveal glimpses of the Akashic film, give that which pertains to the one who sees. Right, and this is interesting because I actually heard this before. This is not the case any more than the people and activities seen out of any window in a big city reveal to the onlooker his own relative, friends, and pursuits. And this is why a lot of people, think that they've been somebody famous. And it's a lot of times it's kind of like the same kind of famous people too. Like, oh, I was Shakespeare, or X, Y, and Z. And this makes sense here. I mean, you've heard it from too many people, the same names from too many people. So now we can understand kind of why, and it's kind of being revealed here. The knowledge referred to in the sutra comes in three ways. Direct ability to see the records, if so desired. This form of acquiring knowledge is seldom employed except by initiates and adepts in connection with their pledged disciples. Two, through direct knowledge of the group activities and relations of a man's own ego. And this, however, only covers that cycle of time which began when a man stepped upon the probationary path. Experiences prior to that are relatively of no more vital importance than is a second in the life of an old man as he passes in retrospect his long life. All that stands out are events and happenings and not the individual hours and seconds. And then three, through the instinctual life, this is based on memory, on acquired faculty and capacity, and on the possession of those qualities which go to the equipment of the ego. The ego knows that the possession of the power to do thus and so in the three worlds is a direct result of past experience, and knows too that certain effects are only to be achieved through certain causes. These he arrives at through concentrated meditation. And it's often, and I would say often, I've seen it said maybe more than once that the disciple, the aspirant disciple, is probably good at many things on earth because of the vast experience they've had and have at their fingertips. So they're likely to be good at everything that they, many of the things that they do. So, jack of all trades, kind of thing. The ego knows that the possession of the power to do thus and so in the three worlds, right, is direct result of past experience, and knows too that certain effects are only to be achieved through certain causes. These he arrives at through concentrated meditation. I'm not sure exactly what's being said there. I'm just going to keep going. The thought images he becomes aware of are, okay, maybe this will help us make sense of that. Those in his aura at the time of his meditation, those in his immediate environment, those in his present family group and race, those in his present life cycle, and these of his egoic group. Thus, through the process of elimination, he gradually works his way through grade after grade of thought images until he arrives at the particular layer of thought impression which deals with the cycle about which he is concerning himself. This is not, therefore, simply a perception of certain aspects of the records, but a definitely scientific process known only to the trained occultist. So this is very deep stuff going on here. And if we don't have any experience with that, and if you don't have, not everyone will, as I understand it. Right. It depends on what our plan is. But certainly very interesting, and will become available, I'm sure, as needed at some point, some life or some time down the road. Let's move into Sutra 19. Through concentrated meditation, the thought images in the minds of other people become apparent. It should be remembered that the result of the 8 means of yoga is to produce a yogi or trained knower. He is, therefore, one who concerns himself with the causes and not with effects. He perceives that which causes the tangible to appear, that is the thoughts which start into motion the forces of substance and eventually produce the concretion of that substance. He perceives that which causes the tangible to appear. So we're looking behind it. That is the thoughts. That is the thoughts which start into motion, forces of substance, and eventually produce the concretion of that substance. All right, the use of this power to read the minds of others is only permitted to the yogi in those cases where it is necessary for him to understand the causes lying back of certain events, and this only in order to work out intelligently the plans of the hierarchy and of evolution. The power here is analogous to that of telepathy, but it is not identical. Telepathy entails the tuning in of one mind with another and necessitates their being in rapport. So it takes two. This faculty of the trained seer is more in the nature of an act of the will and the manipulation of certain forces, whereby he can instantly see what he wants in any aura at any time. The subject of his investigation may be attuned to him or not. Through intense meditation and the use of the will faculty, thought images stand revealed. This power is a dangerous one, and to use it is only permitted to trained disciples. All right, we're going to keep going. Sutra 20. As, however, the object of those thoughts is not apparent to the perceiver, he sees only the thought and not the object. His meditation excludes the tangible. All that he is awake to in his meditation is thought substance, his own chitta or mind stuff, and that of others. It is the inherent activity of this chitta which is the cause of the eventual appearing of forms, tangible and objective, on the physical plane. Everything that appears is the result of a subjective happening. And, this is something early on when we're learning about, I want to say esotericism or energy, when we're thinking or contemplating about energy. Knowing this is absolutely gigantic. Everything that appears is the result. So we're seeing the result, right? We're seeing the effect, I guess you could say, of, like we went through yesterday, very deep stuff. So we could just go back and read that. But all this, all that is exists in the mind of the thinker, not in the sense that is usually understood, but in the sense that thought sets in motion certain currents of force. These currents of force gradually sweep into shape forms which correspond to the thinker's idea, and those forms persist as long as the mind of the thinker is on them and disappear when he takes his mind off them. It is the nature of the thought force or current which is perceived through concentrated meditation. The form which will be ultimately produced does not interest the seer. He knows from the cause what the inevitable effect will be. And as we know, energy follows thought, right? That's one of the great, truisms. Let's see. 21st Sutra. By concentrated meditation upon the distinction between form and body, those properties of the body which make it visible to the human eye are negated or withdrawn, and the yogi can render himself invisible. Okay. All right. Well, I can't wait to practice this here in a little bit in front of everybody. I'm just kidding. This is one of the most difficult of the sutras to the Western thinker, for it involves certain recognitions which are foreign to the Occident. That's us, the Occident. It involves primarily the recognition of the etheric or vital body and its functions as the attractive force holding a dense physical vehicle in shape. Through this etheric substratum, the physical body is realized as a coherent whole, and its objectivity is observable. This vital body is the true form from the standpoint of the occultist, and not the dense tangible sheath. The yogi, through concentration and meditation, has acquired the power to center his consciousness in the true or spiritual man and to control the thinking principle. It is an occult law that as a man thinketh, so is he. Or so is he. And it is equally true occultly that where a man thinketh, there he is, or there he is he. At will, the trained seer can withdraw his consciousness from the physical plane and center it on the mental. At will, he can shut off the light. And when that is the case, visibility is negated. And from the standpoint of the human eye, he disappears. He also becomes intangible from the point of view of touch and inaudible from the standpoint of hearing. It is this fact that demonstrates the reality of the hypothesis that there is nothing but energy of some form or other, and that energy is triple. In the East, they call the energy, or the nature of the energy, sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, rajasic. This is translated as follows. Again, this is again because we've gone through this before, but we have sattva, which is rhythm, spirit, or life, rajas, mobility, soul, and light, and tamas, which is inertia, body, and substance. All are differentiations in time and space of the one eternal primordial spirit essence. It may be suggested that the modern Western correspondences are to be found in the terms energy, spirit, life, force, soul, or light, matter, form, or substance. The outstanding characteristic of spirit or energy is the life principle, that mysterious something which causes all things to be and to persist. The outstanding characteristic of the soul or of force is light. It brings into visibility that which exists. The outstanding characteristic of living matter is that it is that which substands or is found back of the objective body. And provides the true form. It should be remembered here that the basis of all occult teaching and of all phenomena is to be found in the words, matter is the vehicle for the manifestation of soul on this plane of existence, and soul is the vehicle on a higher turn of the spiral for the manifestation of spirit. And that's from the Secret Doctrine. And we're here, we're talking about, again, the etheric body here. This true form, I want to say, and what stands back from above, the substratum. When the soul or force withdraws itself out of the matter aspect, the tangible objective form, that form is no longer to be seen. It disappears and temporarily is dissipated. At present, this can be adequately accomplished by the seer through a concentration of his consciousness in the ego, the spiritual man or soul, and through the use of the thinking principle and an act of the will, his withdrawal of the etheric body from the dense physical plane. This is covered by the word abstraction and entails 1, a gathering together of the life or vital forces of the body into the physical plane nerve centers of the spine. 2, their direction up the spine to the head, directing them up the spine to the head. Their concentration there and subsequent abstraction along the thread or sutratma via the pineal gland and the Brahmarandra. And this thread be the Antakarana that we're familiar with in DK's work, later works. The seer then stands in his true form, the etheric body, which is invisible to the human eye. As etheric vision develops in the race, this will necessitate a further abstraction when the seer will likewise withdraw the vital and luminous principles the qualities of sattva and of rajas, out of the etheric body and stand in his kamic or astral body, and thus be also etherically invisible. However, that time is still distant. W.Q. Judge, in his commentary, makes certain interesting remarks as follows. Another great difference between this philosophy and modern science is here indicated. The schools of today lay down the rule that if there is a healthy eye in line with the rays of light reflected from an object, such as a human body, the latter will be seen, and that no action of the mind of the person looked at can inhibit the functions of the optic nerves and retina of the onlooker. But the ancient Hindus held that all things are seen by reason of that differentiation of sattva, one of the three great qualities composing all things, which is manifested as luminosity, operating in conjunction with the eye, which is also a manifestation of sattva, and another aspect. The two must conjoin. The absence of luminosity or its being disconnected from the seer's eye will cause a disappearance. As the quality of luminosity is completed under the control of the ascetic, he can, by the process laid down, check it and thus cut off from the eye of the other an essential element in the seeing of any object. That's this, this is very deep stuff, man. No doubt, I know these things are, we've heard these things quite often. This is I am absorbing at this point. This entire process is only possible as a result of concentrated and one-pointed meditation, and hence is impossible to the man who has not passed through the long discipline and training involved in the work of gaining control of the thinking principle and setting up that direct alignment and functioning which is possible when the thinker on his own plane, the mind, and the brain are all aligned and coordinated via the sutratma, thread, or magnetic silver cord. And that's also the anakarana. Yeah, 22nd sutra. We're going to keep going. Let's see here. Karma, or effects, are of two kinds: immediate karma or future karma. By perfectly concentrated meditation on these, the yogi knows the term of his experience in the three worlds. This knowledge comes also from signs. I have a feeling this is going to be very telling here. This sutra can be somewhat elucidated if read in connection with Sutra 18 of Book 3. Okay, the knowledge of previous incarnations becomes available when the power to see thought images is acquired. Okay. The karma referred to here deals primarily with the present life of the aspirant or seer. He knows that every event in that life is the effect of a previous cause initiated by himself in an early incarnation. He knows also that every act of the present life must produce an effect to be worked out in another life unless it is done in such a way that one, the effect is immediate and culminates within the scope of the present lifetime, and two, the effect involves no karma, for the act has been done from a selfless motive and carried out with complete detachment. He then produces the effect desired in accordance with the law, but it carries no consequences for himself. When the seer enters into incarnation in a life wherein only a few more effects remain to be worked out, And when all that he initiates is freed from karma, then he can set a term to his life experience, and he knows that the day of liberation is at hand. Through meditation and ability to function as the ego, he can arrive at the world of causes, and he knows, therefore, what acts must be performed to release the few remaining effects. Through strict attention to the motive underlying every act of the present life, he obviates the necessity for their effects to tie him in any way to the wheel of birth. Thus, he consciously and intelligently nears his goal, and every deed, act, and thought is governed by direct knowledge and in no way chains him. The signs or portents referred to relate primarily to the mental world, where the real man dwells through an understanding of three things: numbers, colors, and vibrations. The seer becomes aware of the freedom of his aura from death-producing effects. He knows there is nothing more written symbolically in the records which can bring him back to the three worlds, and therefore, by signs, his path is seen to be clear. This has been expressed for us in the ancient writings found in the Master's archives as follows: when the star with 5 points shines with clarity and no forms are seen within its points, the way is clear. When the triangle encloses naught but light, the path is freed for the passing of the pilgrim. When within the aura of the pilgrim the many forms die out and the colors three are seen, then the road is freed from that which might obstruct. When thoughts call not to forms, and when no shadows are reflected, the thread provides a way direct from the circle to the center. From that point of rest, no return is possible. The term of necessary experience in the three worlds is at an end. No karma then can draw the freed spirit back to earth for further lessons or the working out of prior causes. He may, however, continue or resume his work of service in the three worlds without ever really leaving his true home in the subtler realms and higher spheres of consciousness. We're into some serious business here. Okay, I'm gonna do 23 here. Union with others is to be gained through one-pointed meditation upon the three states of feeling, compassion, tenderness, and dispassion. Upon the three states of feeling, compassion, tenderness, and dispassion. Some understanding of this will come if the student will compare this sutra with one in the first book, Sutra 33. The union here dealt with marks a step further than the previous attainment. In that, the nature of the aspirant is being trained to harmonious, peaceful association with all around him. In this, he is taught to identify himself with all other selves through concentration upon what are sometimes called the three states of feeling. These are compassion, the antithesis of passion, which is selfish and grasping. And then we have tenderness, the antithesis of self-centeredness, which is always hard and self-absorbed. And then we have dispassion, which is the antithesis of lust or desire. These three states of feeling, when understood and entered into, put a man in rapport with the soul of all men. These three states of feeling, oh, I'm sorry, I did that one already. Through compassion, he is no longer occupied with his own selfish interests, but enters into and suffers with his brother. He can adapt his vibrations so that it responds to his brother's need. He is enabled to share in all that is taking place in his brother's heart. This he does through the keying up of his own vibration to respond to the love nature in his own ego. And through that unifying principle, all hearts everywhere are open to him. Through tenderness, that compassionate understanding works out into practical expression. His activities are no longer ingoing and self-centered, but are outgoing and inspired by an unselfish, heartfelt desire to serve and aid. This state of feeling is sometimes called mercy and characterizes all the servers of the race. It involves active help, unselfish intent, wise judgment, and loving activity. It is free from any wish or reward or recognition. This has been beautifully covered by H.P. Blavatsky in The Voice of the Silence in the following words. Let thy soul lend its ear to every cry of pain, like as the lotus bears its heart to drink the morning sun. Let not the fierce sun dry one tear of pain before thyself has wiped it from the sufferer's eye. But let each burning human teardrop on thy heart and there remain. Nor ever brush it off until the pain that caused it is removed. These tears, O thou of heart most merciful, these are the streams that irrigate the fields of charity immortal. It's a lot. There's a lot in that, right? Should raise some questions, and it does illumine some concepts. Through dispassion, the aspirant and server stands free from the karmic results of his activity on behalf of others. It is, as we know, our own desire which binds us to the three worlds and to others. Binding to is of a different nature to union with. One is full of desire and causes obligation and effects. One is full of desire and causes obligation. One is full of desire and causes obligation and effects. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's do this. One is full of desire and causes obligation and effects. The other is free from desire, produces identification with, and has no binding effect in the three worlds. And that's the difference between binding to and union with. Dispassion has more of a mental quality than the other two. It might be noted that dispassion brings in the quality of lower mind. Tenderness is the emotional result of dispassionate compassion and involves the karmic or astral principle, whilst compassion concerns also the physical plane, for it is the working out into physical manifestation of the two other states. I'm going to have to read this again. I'm sorry. It might be noted that dispassion brings in the quality of lower mind. Tenderness is the emotional result of dispassionate compassion. It involves the karmic or astral principle, whilst compassion concerns physical plane, is working out into physical manifestation of the two other states. It is the practical ability to identify oneself with another in all three world conditions. And those three world conditions it looks like we're going from the top to the bottom here. So we're going from mental, astral down to physical there. This union is the result of the egoic oneness brought down into full activity in the three worlds through meditation. I think we're going to leave it there for today. I want to try to absorb this. I really didn't get as much out of Sutra 17 yet as I had anticipated or wanted to. I'd like to probably go back and read that one again. It was such an incredible sutra. It stuck with me, but it didn't stick like I would have liked it to. But we did absorb it, and that's what counts. I'm really just trying to get the overall big picture. I'm not trying to dive deep into any of this. The absorbing, most of it is just absorbing, but some of it has a direct correlation to the overall teaching, the Ageless Wisdom, and the understanding of it too. So, and some of it may or may not, in different ways. That didn't even make that much sense to me. So anyway, we're going to leave it there. And we got through quite a bit today, though. All right. Tomorrow is Easter. Hope everybody's having a great weekend, and we will be doing Treatise on White Magic tomorrow, I believe. So we'll see about when we get to these next sutras. All right. Hope everybody has a great, blessed Easter. All right. Have a good one.